Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Facility Focus webinar by ARC Facilities, Mapped, Mobile, and Ready. Use equipment documentation to boost speed, safety, and teamwork. So now I want to introduce our speaker. David Trask is the National Director here at ARC Facilities and the host of the popular Facility Voices podcast. He recently presented 2 sessions at NFMT Remix just a few weeks ago, and just this week on Monday, he spoke at the Pacific Coast APA Higher Ed Conference. So David, we're excited to have you speaking here today. I'll hand it over.
Yeah, thanks, Indira, and thanks everybody for joining me today. What I'm going to really focus in on today is we have what's called an O&M module. And essentially what this does is it's going to address some of the stuff that I hear in the field all the time. I'm asked all the time, how did you guys come up with what you guys are doing? And I said, it's from you. We have had hundreds and hundreds of conversations with facilities directors, operations, plant operators nationwide, and it's a big deal when you can really help people and you understand what they're going through. And I kind of call those days in the life. We're walking around and trying to fix stuff and manage stuff, but one of the big things that I keep hearing over and over, and it's universal, doesn't matter your industry, is you can't manage what you can't find. Okay. Facilities seem to run around all over the place. And what that means is I've got stuff in the field. I can't find it. I don't know exactly where it is, or I've got a handful of people who do know where it is. And in many cases, orgs are flying blind. They're running around like crazy trying to do break fixes and respond when something's going sideways. And we're going to address some of that and some of the core causes of that. And let's jump in. And a lot of it really starts with this. It's 65% of buildings are still paper. They've got drawings all over the place. They're tucked away in a storage room. They're behind somebody's desk, or they're sitting on the, in the corner in a rack, or they're, in hang stick files, whatever. Pick your poison. But it's even worse too when it's just dumped on a share drive someplace. I can't find it. The problem is a lot of buildings are older. Okay, so think of your buildings and think about how many fit in these windows. Okay, 1 in 3 buildings is over 50 years old. Approximately 70% of buildings are over 20 years old. Figure out where yours kind of fall in that. And then think about all the stuff in the buildings and then all the associated documentation for those buildings. Every building that changes, it's more stuff. Okay, it's new moves of equipment. Maybe it's replaced equipment. Maybe it's shutoffs moved, or maybe it's more drawings for the building. But that's where this comes into play. If I've got something mechanical that breaks on my building, where do I go find this stuff? Where is it? Which roll of these drawings that are in these cubbies or in those racks do I grab to try and find that equipment? I call this the hidden barrier of efficiency. Okay. I can't find stuff to do my job. I can't find stuff. My team's struggling trying to find stuff. Or it's institutional knowledge. A handful of people know where stuff is. And it's those things that are tucked away in places. I'm going to share some real world stories here in just a few minutes. But stuff's all over the place. It's in the grid. It's in the bushes. It's above a room. It's all over the place. Knowing where that stuff is usually resides in a handful of people's heads. But the impact that on those people on your team who do know is, what are you going to do when they retire? So think about your organization, the aging workforce in your organization. That represents a lot of institutional knowledge loss. As Indira mentioned, I was actually at a conference for higher ed just this week, and it was on the West Coast. And I shared a story, and I just threw this out to the audience. I said, how much of your building's institutional knowledge is in your people who are within that 5-year retirement window? So think about it. If I've got 3 people, 4 people on my team that are in that retirement window of, 5 years, 3 years, whatever that is, how much of your building's institutional knowledge is in that group's head? Think about that. I heard numbers 80%, 90%. A bunch of them were, 50%, 70%. Doesn't matter the number. What's your number? Okay. How much of your institutional knowledge is going to walk out the door when that guy leaves? Think about that, because that's the guy that knows where everything is. So that's the impact on those key retirements to your organization. What is that? And also, what's that transition risk? Okay. If you lose people and then you hire somebody else that comes in, what's your MO? What are you going to do? What's your SOP? Are you going to have them shadow somebody for a year and pay somebody, two people to do one job for a year? No, there's better ways. And I'm going to show you how that can work. But also, here's the other thing. What about the new person? People walk in the door. How long is it taking them to ramp up? Remember that, what I just said, shadowing somebody for a year, 6 months, 8 months, whatever the number is for you. How long is it going to take that new person to get up to speed? Well, there's ways that you can document stuff. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a few, to capture that institutional knowledge before it walks out the door. So now this new person, they have access to everything, just like the person who's been there for a long time. I was on a panel with a client at this conference this week, and it was interesting because he actually walked around with his phone and recorded the guy's voice who was retiring, lead plumber. He was recording the guy's voice and taking photos and videos of him, this guy telling him, what does this valve serve? They're popping caps on stuff out in the, in the grounds, and they're popping this, and you look down, there's a bunch of valves down there, and he goes, what does this serve? He's recording all of that and documenting it to help this person who started last week, as well as everybody else on your team. Think about that. All of that legacy knowledge now documented. Here's the other problem. Most people just call somebody. They don't write it down. They don't have a way to document it, but they call Bob. Okay. Bob's the guy that knows where everything is. Okay. But then there's the old way of searching too. Okay. Popping ceiling tiles, right? Which one do I pop? I got 1 in 4 shot, right? Nothing in the grid's marked. I have no idea which one to pop to get up to that fan coil unit. So I just start popping tiles, right? And I don't even have ways to document. In many cases, I hear this from clients. I don't have ways to document where that stuff is, or even what does it serve. This is the old way. I'll show you what the new way looks like in a minute. But also easy access to that stuff. So think about this. This is me on that ladder. Okay. I had to put a ladder on the ground to put another ladder up on this desk. Okay. Because that's where that unit is. Well, think about that person who just started. They're going to have no idea where the heck this thing is. So even the guy who's been there for a long time couldn't remember what ceiling tile to pop, right? Documenting where that stuff is, and also putting perspective photos. So, oh, it's this one. It's right next to the light there, right? It's a time suck on your team, and your team is running around. They're busy enough as it is. Don't make their lives harder, right? Document stuff, and I'll show you what that looks like. Well, here's another real one, right? And this just happened. This literally just happened with me when I was doing a site walk, right? And the guy gets a hot call from, this is a big facility, huge facility, multi-story. And the guy gets a hot call. He's brand new technician, been on the job for 3 weeks. Okay. Hadn't documented. We were in process of documenting where stuff was, right? So he gets this call. He starts tracing lines. He left me, and I was on my own. My team was on their own. We're running around like crazy. He left. I saw him at the end of the day, right? Took him 5 hours to try to find this. You know where it was? It was located in a bathroom above the grid. Someone had built this landing years ago. Okay. This guy's brand new. He had no idea where this stuff is, right? He goes into a bathroom after he's tracing lines and realizes he's tracing lines on the floor above, and they go down to here. He goes into this lady's restroom and starts popping ceiling tiles. There's 6 condensers on this landing up here. 6. He had no idea they were there. Neither did the HVAC tech who was still there, because the guy who installed this had retired years ago. Okay. He built all of this stuff out, and no one knew where this stuff was. That's what I call hidden secrets. Okay. Wasn't on any plans. They put it up there. There's 6 units up there, right? And the problem is it was getting so hot up there too from those units, they ended up having to install an exhaust fan. Hidden assets, hidden secrets, these are the things that can come back and bite you. Documenting this stuff as you find stuff is a big deal. Okay. It saves you that time. This one thing saved him. I mean, it would have saved him so much time, right? 5 hours trying to find that. He said that's a day in the life, millions of square feet, and he's chasing stuff all the time. It's a problem. Then there's this. Where is that FCU? Okay, just look for the stains in the grid. The room that I spoke at this week, I looked up in the grid and I was joking, and I actually looked up, and sure enough, there were stains in the grid there. Well, that's where the unit is, right? That's a stain in the grid isn't a good SOP trying to find stuff, right? It's a problem. The other thing is this. I see these dots all over the place. Well, I'm assuming that might be water, hot, cold, but is there equipment up there too? Other than these 2 red dots in that grid, there was nothing on the grid. All right. When we popped the ceiling tile, there were 3 fan coil units up there. 3, right? None of it was documented. But 20 to 40% of assets in the database that most people that I talk to are either replaced, decommissioned, moved, or they're new. It's hard to keep up. Things are swapping out. Your team's on the go. They're running around like crazy. And they're usually writing on that little spiral notebook that's in their pocket. Well, I got news for you. That spiral notebook gets wet. It gets lost. And also, I got to try to read that writing. Half the time, they can't read their own writing. But that's the problem. It never gets back to whoever imports that into your database, and it quickly gets out of date. But why it's important to document all this stuff too is equipment lifespan, and try to go get some new units right now. It's tough. All right. The lead times on getting equipment is really tough. And a lot of orgs are running stuff to fail because they don't have a plan. They don't even have a PM schedule to manage that and maintain that equipment. So here's the other thing that I actually just heard too. We're one equipment failure away from not being able to heat or cool our building. Think about that. Are you in that same boat? Do you have in your portfolio of your buildings, do you have a bunch of buildings that you're one equipment failure away from not being able to heat or cool your buildings? It's a problem. Well, that's what this looks like, right? Unit breaks on a Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning, right? Couldn't be repaired. So they already ordered the replacement unit. They had to rent a unit. Took them 4 days to get that unit in. It's on a trailer, right? $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month. Here's the problem though. The new unit wasn't delivered for 18 months. Do that math. That's the cost of one, not knowing where it is, and also not being able to maintain that equipment, right? They didn't even know where the stuff, they knew where it was. They didn't know exactly what it was, and they didn't even have a PM schedule. And the challenge was it just got out of hand, right? And then it just failed. These are real costs. It's a challenge, right? But if you're still hunting and digging and wasting time, I call that the skull hold, right? Put my head in my hands and grabbing my head because it's a headache. It's a challenge. It's time. Your team is busy. You got some crews that are just busting their behinds out there, doing the best that they can, but they're frustrated too. It's not being able to document stuff and be able to find stuff. It just takes so much time. Well, the real world impacts of not having stuff mapped out and accessible is, again, time in emergencies. It's risks associated with that. Is the longer it takes me to respond when something goes sideways, the more damage can be caused. That it's just a big problem, right? It also increased downtime. I don't know where the stuff is. So now, again, it's all about time here. I can't get to it. I don't know exactly where is it. So it's taking more time to get to it and find that stuff to be able to respond that and troubleshoot. All right. Knowledge is in silos. I see design construction's got some knowledge of where stuff is, facilities, teams, and even within their own facilities team. And facilities teams, I see different silos of information too. You've got the guys who know where everything is. They kind of hold those cards to their vest. And then you got the new guys that are just trying to figure stuff out, right? breaks down those silos when you have everything documented and everything in one spot and everybody can access it. But think about the safety risks too. So technicians, they're maybe shutting down the wrong equipment just because they don't have a way to document what serves what areas. Okay. But also think about the compliance liability and the exposure to your organization. It's all about risk, right? But now we're going to talk about going from desk bound, having to come out of the field, go to a desk and log into a computer, trying to remember my password, to now I'm in the field. Okay. Or maybe I've got to go back to the office, grab drawings. No, now I access all my drawings in the field. All of that stuff on an iPad, on the phone. I ask this at every conference. Raise your hand if you got a smartphone. So does your team. Okay. Your team who's on a roof has a smartphone in their pocket. It's a tool to access the information to do their job. Your phone's a tool. Your iPad's a tool. Your laptop's a tool. Having access to that stuff in the field's a big deal. Well, the real world impacts of having that mechanical equipment mapped and accessible is faster response times, consistent knowledge across the entire team. Everybody's on the same page, right? Smarter preventative maintenance. You can respond faster to emergencies, but that gives you some of that time back that you can now do some of those preventative maintenance things that have been shelved for so long. But it also can help you with improved safety and compliance. Mapping reduces errors, protects your staff, right? But also it's making your organization operational resilient, okay? Not worried about institutional knowledge, walking out that door. Your team is all on the same page and everybody in all the different departments has access, okay? Everybody has access who needs access, and it's real time. It's accurate information at your fingertips all the time. You're at home, you can pull it up. You're in the office, you can pull it up. You're in another building across campus, you can pull it up. But you can see all of your sites quickly on your phone, on your tablet, wherever the heck you are, 24/7. Okay. So all of that equipment, meaning it's all mapped out. Okay. I open it up on my iPad, I open it up on my phone, and I can see all the information associated with anything that I'm looking for. Okay. Mechanical equipment, shutoffs, all the emergency assets, all the stuff associated with my buildings, all in one spot. Everybody can see it. That's what you can do today. So now I'm going to show you what that can look like for you. Okay. So say I've got multiple campuses. You're seeing my iPad here. I've got multiple campuses. They're all listed here. Okay. And if you notice down here, there's a couple of them have a green checkbox. I have the ability to sync them all locally on my phone, on my tablet. I don't have to have Wi-Fi. I don't have to have cell service. I can access it offline. And then when I can even make changes to it offline. And when I get back into cell service or back into Wi-Fi range, it automatically updates, right? So I'm working offline. It's a big deal. But if I want to see the information for Summit High School, it's the one on the left-hand side with the green checkbox on it. I just tap on that, right? And at the end of the day, all the stuff for just this one location, not the other locations, all the stuff for this site. I don't care in this case about the other sites. I'm looking at this site. If I want to see the mechanical equipment, or I want to see the drawings for this building or shutoffs of this building, I just push a button. But I want to see mechanical equipment, right? I want to know where the AHUs are. I tap on O&M, okay? Equipment maps, right? Here's the school, right? I tap on it. And it's organized by floor, okay? Roof, first floor. Let's tap on first floor, okay? Here's all the equipment that's on this floor. I can turn this under load all down here. Here's all the equipment. I've got backpack units on the back of some of these portables. I've got condensers. I've got water heaters, all the stuff that's associated with this building. But if I want to see just the air handlers, there they are, right? And more importantly, if I need to see a specific one for a specific area, right, I can zoom in here and I can see, I want to see this one in this part of the building right here. I tap on that little pin icon. Here's photos of that actual piece of equipment. But if you notice there, that's AHU1, but there's a number 1 right there. That's an equipment record. Okay. So let me tap on that. And let me tap it again. Here's all the details for this one piece of equipment. I'm doing this from my phone, from my tablet. You're seeing my iPad right now. And you can see I've got photos attached to it. I've also got equipment details, make, model, serial number. What is it? Where is it? It's mapped out, everything associated with that one piece of equipment, but field verified. If this changes, I change it real time, hit save. Everybody sees that change, right? So again, I have all of that information, but now I can add all the other stuff associated with that. The manual, okay? So let me go to my linked files here, and you can see here's a York catalog, right? And here's also the manual, okay? I can click on that. Here's the document. This is all searchable. I can search through here. I can scroll through here. I can see all the individual specs for this unit, okay? And if I hit my back arrow here, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, parts, right? I want to see parts for it. Let me tap on my parts here. These are links to where I order parts. Maybe you link, maybe you have a Grainger account where you get all of your stuff and your inventory is managed by Grainger or somebody else. Or maybe this goes directly to your individual spreadsheet that you got on a share drive someplace, okay? But if I tap on this blower, right, you can see here's all the details, including, hey, you know what? Before you order anything, you got to get a PO. It says it right there. You can put all those details in it, but look at the bottom down there, right? Link to order. Let me tap that little link. Takes me to the York website. It takes me to where I got to go to get the stuff. I'm doing this in a mechanical room. I do this in a roof. I can do this from another building. I can do this from home, right? All the information I need for this piece of equipment is all here. I can also even record a video. Hey, you know what? I had a problem last time and the thermostat on this thing's a real pain in the behind. And here's how I fix it. Record that video, hit save, everybody sees it. And it's attached to that unit. You can do that today, right? But more importantly, I have the ability to access all of this stuff in the field and I can add to it. As I find more stuff or I add more stuff, I can add real time in the field and everybody sees that. One other thing that I hear a lot is people, are using paper forms. So they're filling out a checklist or something like that. The system also supports forms. So I can have form templates in here and I can tap on this. This one's actually past due. And I can load this up and I can add all the details associated with this form. And there's a workflow where you can even fill this form out. I can send this in for an approval. All of that information is all there real time. Okay. Everybody's in there. And I can also see all the historical ones that I have for that. These are not work orders. Okay. These are just, maybe I'm taking readings on a regular basis for these units. All of that information, again, is stored with the individual piece of equipment. All of it's in one spot. Everybody can access it, including the new person. Okay. So let's role play that for a second. I'm going to click back here. And I'm a brand new person, just started with the organization, haven't been there for, I've been there for a week. Okay. And the guy who's been training me took a vacation. But I get a hold of him and I say, hey, listen, I'm trying to find this unit. I don't know where the heck it is. And he goes, oh, that's AHU1, right? He knows. He's the guy. He's Bob, right? But he knows where that unit is. I have no idea. I've been on the job for a week, okay? 5 days, right? I go down here in the bottom right, hit search. And I'm just going to type in AHU-1, just like you do in a Google search, right? Oh, wait a minute. There's AHU1. Matter of fact, here's the VFD for AHU1. And I can see here, AHU1 is on the first floor, room 609. I have no idea where room 609 is. This is a high school. It's huge, okay? It's all over. I have no idea where this stuff is, right? Well, if I tap on that, okay, here's that AHU. But look here where it says location. If I tap on location, it says, sure, again, high school, first floor, 609. But look at that little map down there. Watch what happens. If I tap that map, there's the unit. I'm the new guy. I have no idea where this stuff is, but now I do. And I don't just know where the unit is. I know where only that unit is when I do a search. That's how fast I can access the information, even if I'm the new person. Real time, live. I'm in the field, I access it. I'm at home, I access it. at a conference, I access it. You're in the meeting listening to this webinar and someone calls you on the radio, you can access it. Real time, everybody on your team has access to all the information associated with your building. Oh, you know what? I also want to see where the VFD is. Let me tap on that. Same thing. Here's all the VFD information. Okay. And go to our location, tap the map. In this case, it's in the same room, that 609. Well, sometimes I've seen where the VFD is in another room, or maybe it's on another wall, or it's all that stuff is mapped out. Our team physically comes out and maps all those assets. Okay. And the challenge is I've had it both ways. I've had it where a client's got a pretty good list. I've had it where clients, their list is garbage. And I'm a firm believer it can be garbage in, garbage out. So we field verify what's really out there compared to your list, but we also add all the stuff that's missing that we find. It never fails. I'll get an equipment list from somebody and it'll say, oh, you know what? There's 10 units in that mechanical room and I count 30 before I've even stepped through the door. Jockey pumps, expansion tanks, all the other stuff associated, that those little things that add up when they break, right? Knowing what's out there, information is king, right? Knowing what's out in the field, you want to have access to all of that information. That's what we're talking about. All the information, all in one spot, all real time, field verified. Let me switch back over here real quick. But more importantly, documenting changes when they make them. So your team's in the field after we do our site walk and we map out and capture where all that stuff is. Now your team can update stuff when they find stuff, right? So if I swap out a motor, I swap out an exhaust fan, whatever, they can swap that out real time on their phone, on their tablet while they're there. They're literally on the ladder. Take your phone out of your pocket, to snap a picture of it, attach it to the pin, hit save, everybody sees it. They make changes real time and it's simple. I'm a firm believer. It's not easy. They're not going to use it. They will use this. And I show this to teams and their jaw hits the floor. I hear it all the time. Man, where the heck has this thing been? We listened. We built something to check off those problems that we hear over and over at organizations. And it's for you. It's a tool for you. Just like your ratchet, just like your hammer. This is a tool, right? And we built that accordingly. But think about it from this perspective too. You can utilize these to show areas that are impacted. When this unit goes down, this is why I'm asking for what I'm asking, right? When this unit goes down, it impacts this area, the ORs, PACU, ICU in a hospital, or maybe it's a whole wing of a building, or maybe it's you've got tenants. These 5 tenants are going to be impacted if that unit goes down. You can document that. Now it's real, tangible when you go talk to leadership as to the why you're asking for these things, why you're asking for tools so you can maintain these things. It's going to minimize your risk, okay? But also, like I showed earlier, you can load all that information in there, okay? We do this for clients all the time. So put in filter sizes. As you find stuff, you're constantly adding stuff. It's not static. It's a living, breathing thing. You add new equipment, boom, you add it. Hit save, everybody sees it. You want to know what belt it is? Great, here it is. You want to know what filter it is? Well, here it is. Well, think about it from this perspective too. You get a call and you've got to go up on a roof and fix something. Maybe, you know what, you're getting close to a PM. Here, let me pull up and see what all the stuff I need to do on it. I'll just kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You could do that. Now you know what you got to do before you even climb up that ladder and pop that roof hatch. You're grabbing all the stuff to do your job all at one time. That's what you can do. That's information at your fingertips, okay? But that critical information allows your staff can be immediately accessing information on their mobile devices 24/7. Information no longer is in those silos or those 1 or 2 or 3 people's heads on your team. All that information is at everybody's fingertips. Everybody's got a smartphone, okay? But now you can also share this out with not only your internal additional teams and departments, you can also share it out with first responders. You can share it out with your vendors. Everybody's on the same page. No more guesswork, trying to figure out who's doing what. No, it's all right here. It's all in one spot. But what this really does is set your team up for success. You got to invest in that centralized digital one-stop shop, right? Close that knowledge gap. Your maintenance team is all on the same page, more efficient, okay? And also that you're going to train your facility staff faster, how they can document changes. The new people get up to speed faster. They can document changes and things that they find real time. But again, it gives your team instant access 24/7, wherever the heck you are. So, Indira, let's open it up to some questions.
Okay, thank you, David. So we do have some questions that have come in. I encourage the audience to continue asking those in the Q&A panel. First question I have here, or comment, is our asset registry is a mess. Can I just start over using this tool?
Yeah, it's yes. Short answer is yes. I see a lot of asset registries when I get them. It's just got a lot of holes. There's just stuff missing. Make, model, serial number, all the normal stuff that you would want to have. It's not accurate. Okay. We've done it where we've created the asset registry from scratch. Our teams go out there. We don't have a database, and we'll create a new equipment record from scratch while we're standing in front of the unit. It's quick. We're doing it live. We're scanning we take the plate, we can scan text on the plate, and it enters it in. And it's very, very simple. But again, at the end, now you've got that field verified what's really out there list that now you can import into your work order system, into your asset system, that whatever you're using right now. You've got a clean list and also a way to maintain that moving forward.
And a comment just came in, David. I wish I had this 10 years ago. This is a dream.
Never heard that before. We listened, I swear. We listened, and that's why we built what we built.
Awesome. And the next question I have here is, we have a lot of guys walking around with clipboards, and it's a huge pet peeve of mine. Is there a limit on the number of forms, and do we have to recreate them to get them into the system?
No, I've got clients that they've got all these old forms. Some are even shredded. I mean, their templates are just a mess. They've copied and copied and copied. Just send it. We send it over to our team. We recreate it. There's no additional fee or anything like that. And there's no cap on number of forms or types of forms. I've got several clients that have got hundreds of different forms, especially on the manufacturing side or the compliance side, that are in the system. And it's unlimited.
Great. We have some people asking to see more of the solution. I did put a note in the chat. You could visit arcfacilities.com and click the request a demo. So I just wanted to cover that real quick. Also, another question here, David, who maps all of this stuff out and maintains it moving forward?
Yeah, the initial mapping, we come out, our teams go out, we travel all over the country. If you follow me on LinkedIn, we're road warriors. Our team is always on the road. We're mapping out the locations from hospitals to manufacturing to schools, K through 12, higher ed, stadiums. They're in our platform. Doesn't really matter. We've got some pharma in there as well. At the end of the day, we set the baseline. We go out there, we capture all the stuff that we can find. We know we're going to miss something, but that's part of our training process. We teach your team how they can add stuff too, and then they can customize things too for them. Like, for instance, I've got a few clients that have gone back after we left, and they mapped out all the custodial closets. Another one, they mapped out all the IT assets. So all the data closets, all the, IDF rooms, all the stuff that's in the rooms, all the repeaters all over the campus. And then I've also got other orgs that have used it for grounds. So we take a site plan, and the grounds teams, they're mapping out all the ground stuff, right down to even sprinkler heads. So again, we do all that baseline, but we teach your team how they can add more stuff too, and really make it their own. There may be some widgets that your team, gosh, I wish we could do this. Well, you can. And you have the ability to even do custom icons and things like that are specifically for your organization.
Great. Another question here. I have a vendor who maintains some of my HVAC systems. Can they also have access to the system?
Yeah, I would say probably about 30% of the users in our platform are actual vendors of our clients. So you can set up different vendor groups, in the system and then give the vendors access. So for instance, like say you got a vendor who's working on a project with you and it's 18 months. You can give the vendor access to folders, or you can give them full access, and they can go in there and access that stuff for a given timeline that you set.
Great. One more question here, David. I have multiple buildings and campuses covering 4 states. How do you manage that? And I think you kind of answer this. Can I control access to who can see each site?
Yeah. So all of the, let me show you here. Okay. So all of these could be your sites. Okay. You've got, and you'd be able to click on any given site. So I was actually just a minute ago, I was looking at the Summit High School campus. So I want to see now Summit College Everett. Okay. I tap on that. Okay. And then I click on the buildings. Here's that campus. And I can go to the next campus and the next campus. And if I want to see the information for Fountain Hall, I tap on it. Okay. Here's all the information just for Fountain Hall. Everything in one spot. All of the equipment for just that building on that campus. So every building would have their own individual things. Your campuses would also have individual stuff for those specific campuses, not the other campuses that were in that list.
Well, fantastic, David. If there are any questions we didn't get to, we will reach out to you individually. I want to encourage you guys to visit our website, arcfacilities.com. If you haven't already listened in on the Facility Voices podcast, that's a really great way to hear from your peers across various industries in any industry, really, and just lots of really good best practices and tips. David is the host of that, of course. David, anything to add regarding the subject today, or anything else?
Yeah, I'm sure that your mind's gonna be racing after you you hang up here. I recommend, if you have any questions or you want to just have a conversation, reach out. My number's right there. My email's right there. Our company email and phone number's right there. Reach out to us. We're happy to have that conversation and see if we can help.
Yep. And just for everybody to remind you, we have recorded this session and we will be sending a follow-up email out by tomorrow. So keep an eye out for an email from ARC Facilities. And we will also include our upcoming webinars if you'd like to attend those as well. So we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. And David, thanks again for presenting today.
My pleasure.
Take care, everybody.